Rejoice, rejoice. Prepare a way in the wilderness. Something important is about to happen. It is good. So arguably, the hidden history of Advent, the time when we prepare for the birth of Jesus, arguably the hidden history lies in the role of nature in the story, especially the role of wild nature. We are guided by a giant star to the manger. It neither sparkles nor twinkles alone, but actually is so big that people who have seen many moons just stop and say, I've got to do something about this moon. I've got to find out whence it comes next to the star that seems to be like it. These events are foretold by John the Baptist, a desert man, a wild man, a hairy man. He's part of the narrative string leading from Jacob and Esau. Remember them? Esau the hairy one and Jacob the smooth one. Those tales of hairiness and animal-like being are always there, but you rarely see them in the Christmas pageant. Jacob and Esau also get lost in wilderness journeys. Wild animals chase them, threaten to tear them apart bit by bit. And here comes John, always on Advent 1, as a voice crying in the wilderness, begging us to prepare a way for the Lord. A path appears to him as the first part of his vision in the wilderness. A way appears to him when there is no way. This surprised child of Zechariah and Elizabeth in their old age has gone off and out. I always wondered what his parents really thought about him, What happened to my good son, the one who came to me so late in life? He's out in the wilderness eating bugs. So it goes. I so wonder also why he left. What drew him into the unbordered space? Later, of course, the way that is no way, the path, the way that we are to prepare for, appears to the shepherds in their pastoral setting. They're abiding in their fields, not their wilderness, keeping watch over their flock by night, and a star surprises them. They are guided to it, to the star and then to the baby. And it becomes one of those great North Star stories. The North Star is the star you have to follow. You really don't have a choice. Again, a way is provided when there is no way. And lo and behold, they come beyond the fields, beyond the towns and the cities, finally to the babe lying in a manger, surrounded by as many animals as humans. And so first we're in the desert, and then we're in the fields, and then we're in the towns and the villages, and then we're in the earth. And the earth's baby comes into our hearts in that great promise of peace on earth. Not just fields, not just in the wilderness, but peace on earth, goodwill to all. The desert has become the field's way, which becomes the urban way, which becomes the heart's way. So maybe we can also find a bit of a way today when there does appear to be very little way. Colorado Springs involves the interruption of health care at the hands of another gun and another man with another gun in his hand. And terror once again replaces peace there, and even in stories people tell about going to the Thanksgiving Day parade in New York City. My neighbors upstairs at Grace House are a German family with 4 teenagers. And the 2 teenagers rushed out to tell me that not only had they gone to the Thanksgiving Day parade, but they found a place with a policeman to specially guard them. All I could think of to say was, awesome. My dad knows a cop. That's why we were so safe. I suggested the fragility of this safety and then took it all back and said, awesome, again. Today for Advent 1, I want to suggest a walk through nature's Advent path. There are, of course, other paths. From wilderness to star, we go. Whether we make it all the way to peace on earth is a completely different question. I want to praise the wild way. I want to make sure we know how to tame terror and to suggest that maybe the way to the tame is the root of the wild. We all know wilderness. Wildness we may be less acquainted with. Will you permit me 2 jokes? I know it's not a funny day. I even know that preparation for Jesus involves some evocation of fear. Advent has a minor key to its songs. Christmas has a major chord. Advent combines a sense of foreboding, as in, what if we miss it? What if we get it wrong? What if God fails to get our attention again? What if we just watch and wait and then watch and wait some more? That's what we've been doing for a long time. That's the apology for the joke. So Sister Joan Chittister, arguably the strongest woman's voice, expanding the Pope's message while directly opposing him, told these 2 jokes for the National Catholic Reporter's 50th anniversary in her keynote speech. She was arguing an Advent message of persistence in waiting, even though waiting is not one of our key skills, especially for those who have waited too damn long for just about everything. So a duck walks into a bar. You got any grapes? No, says the bartender. I don't have any grapes. This is a bar. Next day, the same duck walks into the same bar. You got any grapes? No, I told you yesterday, I don't have any grapes. This is a bar. Get out of here, you crazy duck. Third day, the duck comes back. You got any grapes? The bartender grabs the duck around the throat and begins to nearly violently evict him. The duck gasps, okay. Do you have any nails? Chittister advised her audience to be persistent in the search for the grape-drawn sacrament, even if you have to get nails first instead of grapes. She tells another joke about a rabbi and a priest going to a boxing match. On the one side, the rabbi is helping the Jewish kid puff himself up for the fight. The kid is pounding his chest and getting really strong and going all alpha. The priest is helping the Catholic kid puff himself up. The rabbi is with the Jewish kid who is pounding his chest and getting all alpha in preparation for the fight. The rabbi asks the priest whether it will help his kid to do all this puffing up as preparation. Only if he can fight, said the priest. Chittister argues that we can prepare ourselves by puffing up and pounding our chests. We can use the usual self-aggrandizing methodologies and fictions for getting ready for the largeness of our existence and its fights. She even says it in the great Tedification of the universe. There's actually a very popular talk about how we should open our chests before we speak so that we can be more heard by others. But Advent is not a preparation for a fight. It's not a preparation for a boxing match. It is different than self-improvement. It is going into the wilderness to watch and wait and see what happens. Of course, we have to know how to fight, how to be persistent. But the way to Advent is not in our better persistence so much as in the incoming of the birth of God, who shines a star to show us the way. So, the reason I am leaving for Paris on Tuesday, to spend 10 days covering COP21. I'm so glad to hear that Amy Van Rye, another member of our congregation, is also going. Hooray. The reason I'm going is that I want to be a megaphone for the Pope's message about the economy and the environment. I think it's a wild intervention he's making on behalf of nature and against emissions. I do want to be persistent, and I don't want to just fight. I want to prepare the way. I want to commend and to join the thousands of people who are preparing themselves to drag nations into enough wilderness that they will find a way to the fields to protect the air and the towns and the cities and the hearts of all the people who love earth. This is about Jesus and his birth. It is, and it is about much, much more than Jesus. It is about the earth and its stars, the earth and its animals, even the ducks who walk into bars. It's about the earth and its wild places. Humans who only know how to puff ourselves up are hurting the animals and the airs and the stars, and the injury has to be stopped. Jesus can help. So can the deep energy inside the earth. Tedification? No, not that. I'm looking for a thread talk, a thread that holds it together, that becomes the kind of path many of us can follow. Right now, God's thread, that great way in the wilderness, is being mocked, and I mean the God of Allah and Jesus, Yahweh and spirit and breath, cosmos and cosmology. The mockery of God, the Creator, devolves into the mockery of God's earth, which devolves into hunger, which is not a game. I know you have lots of leftovers. So do I. Lots more people have been flat out left behind. The best time I had over Thanksgiving was in a conversation with my daughter, Katie. Katie is queerly beautiful and beautifully queer. And she wanted to make a plan for herself for the next 40 years. By the way, she doesn't think the planet's going to survive for 40 more years, but that didn't have anything to do with how much fun it would be to make a plan for her for the next 40 years. And I'm like that too. I love lists and visions and plans, and most of them never pan out, but why not make one anyway? What does pan out by the taming of the wild possibilities in your life is that it's so much fun that you do it just to create room for the wild surprise. Once you've got a plan, you can know which road you're leaving, which way in the wilderness you're not taking, and then you get to take some wild ways. So, of course, you have to figure out your life mission if you're going to do that. So Katie argued that her life mission was to stop gentrification. Why? Because she hates it so much. Why does she hate it so much? Because she loves the greatness of cities so much that she can't stand the way that they are injured by gentrification. Why does she love the greatness of cities so much? Because historically, they have been a place where people get all mixed up. Gay and straight, old and young, black and brown and white and yellow, rich and poor. The homogenization of the city harms the fun of the city. The mixture of the city, which harms the culture of the city, which harms her, which harms the thread. She was downright eloquent about the thrill she gets walking down the street sometimes. I know that thrill. It is a wild thrill. A vision of God's creation where somebody says, hey, you got a quarter? I want to buy a popsicle. You know where the best Ethiopian restaurant is in this part of town? Assumption, there is one. You just have to tell me where it is. Some days in the great cities like New York, you aren't looking for the safest place to see a parade. Someday in great cities like New York, you are the parade. You are part of the parade. What I loved about Katie's process so much is the way she moved from what she hates so much to what she loves so much. And that's the way you make a way in the wilderness, moving from pathlessness to path, finding a way where there is no way. Prepare ye the way of the Lord, make the way straight, queer, in the wilderness. Don't become tame or even try to tame the wild. Don't just sparkle or just twinkle as if you were the star or you were the whole universe. You're not. You're just somebody who follows a star. And do it for 40 years, or 40 days of Advent, or every time you walk into a bar or run into an undocumented panther in the wilderness. Prepare the way of the Lord and follow it. Amen.